Hey everyone, this episode of the Watch and Listen podcast is brought to you by Crown & Caliber. Crown & Caliber is the #1 source for authentic, pre-owned luxury watches on the internet, from Rolex and Omega to AP, Vacheron, Breitling, and more. They stock over 2,000 watches at all times. They've got a group of watchmakers on staff to service and ensure these watches are good to go. And how do they get all those watches? Well, they buy them from nice folks like you. So maybe you've got a watch to sell or trade to Crown & Caliber. Maybe you want to upgrade to something new and hot, or maybe even downgrade to something a little more mellow. Crown & Caliber has that selection, the expertise, and a money-back guarantee. If you're not happy with your watch, if that watch is not as advertised, if that watch doesn't work in the way that it's supposed to, Crown & Caliber will take it back and give you a full refund. I have bought and sold to Crown & Caliber now a couple times in the first little bits of our show here, and I have been happy with the transactions on both ends of the spectrum. And if you use code MATT150, that's MATT 150 at Crown & Caliber, you will get $150 off your order. Anything you buy in the store. One-time use per customer, folks. Can't abuse that one. We're also sponsored by Beeline Coffee. It is delicious. It is single roast. It is beans from exotic locations. Single origin roast, excuse me. They've got espresso. They've got decaf. They've got delicious drip coffee. We've got a Weiss Watch Company roast. We've got a smoking tire roast. It's all delicious. Code CHRONO, CHRONO, will get you 15% off your entire order, no matter how big or small. It could be 1 pound of coffee. It could be a whole year's subscription to the Coffee of the Month program. Don't matter. Code CHRONO gets you 15% off at BeelineCoffee.com. Lastly, Cameron makes watches. Did you know Cameron makes watches? The Weiss Watch Company makes watches from scratch right here in Los Angeles, California. And thanks to you guys at Watch and Listen, they're selling more than they ever have. And so if you want a Weiss watch, one of Cameron's creations, handmade by Cameron himself, we are offering a special deal. If you buy one through their website, in the comments section of the order, I will repeat that again. In the comments section of your order, type out the words watch and listen. If you do that, we will send you a free set upgrade for free, which includes a Weiss branded strap changing tool and a second strap to go with your Weiss watch. Type code watch and listen into the comments box. Now, on this episode of Watch and Listen, we've got our old friend John Ward. He's in the studio talking to us about his collection of affordable vintage watches. It's been a very popular topic for you guys to request from us, and here he is in studio, John Ward, with his new watch, the Duesey, which he designed, developed, and is now selling, as well as a collection of affordable vintage for that ass. Enjoy this episode of Watch and Listen. Hello, what's happening, everybody? It's the Watch and Listen podcast, Studio B, Smoking Tire Studios. We here.
What's up, time geeks?
There it is, Jonathan Ward in the house. What's up, my brother?
Yeah.
Chilling with me and Cameron, Mr. Cameron Weiss, the master watchmaker. Yep, and that's how he enters every day.
That's my intro.
That's his. He just does a silent drop. That's going to be Cameron's trademark. If we keep doing it, it'll become a meme.
But hopefully they'd see his self-confident expression. Like, I don't really need to say shit because you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just sense that I'm there when they're listening to it on the
They
radio.
can feel his presence.
The confidence of a man with a ponytail.
He should just
is
put in-
hard to really
He
compare.
should put his just the ticking watch up to the microphone.
Yeah, that's right. I wonder if that's
It's like
if you
a-
can hear it.
No,
nothing.
No 60 minutes tick. Hi, Zach. Oh, who wanted the coffee? Me? Oh, maybe I'll have one. Beeline Coffee, the official coffee of the Watch and Listen podcast. Thanks, Zach. What's happening, John Ward?
You know, living the dream for the most part. Just trying to grow and go and keep pushing and juggling and
You have your little sticky fingers in everything.
I try.
You have the best hobbies that become things that become a part of your business. It's brilliant.
It does seem to be a habit of mine. You know, it's funny because like with the leather thing, I thought I'm going to do this so analog that it's totally impossible. But now I'm actually dumb enough to start thinking about where I could go with that.
You making interiors for the vehicles or straps for the Dueseys?
No, because the strap maker who does the Dueseys, like I could maybe be that good in 20, 30 years. But no, I just like basically the incentive behind it is my wife's not even like a purse kind of gal. And I've made her so many bags that she's starting to roll her eyes. So it's like at some point I need to start selling these things because being the geek that I am, I keep finding all these nifty tool makers.
Well,
and it's kind of like watch tools of years gone by. The subculture behind the leathercraft tool world is like a deep, deep, deep pond of unnecessary detail. Like the Makume Game and like the crazy.
What is that? I'm sorry. What was that? Makuma what?
It's the folded and centered dissimilar metals going back to the Japanese swordsmith days.
Oh.
And some people talk shit and say it sucks, but they're really wrong. Other than like the commercialized Makume Game metals just look sexy but don't hold an edge longer. But if you have the right metals in them, like nothing will hold an edge.
What's the
and they're
anglicized spelling of Makuma Game? Would it just be like Japanese steel?
I think it's Fuckifinow. I don't know. But
it's like Japanese steel, right?
Yeah. You should be able to get Makume.
I don't know. Makume.
Makumi.
Like this kind of stuff?
Like this.
It's this, right?
Sexy,
yeah, okay.
Sexy.
It's this. If you, we can see now with video show, we do this. We drop it in the show. They see, they share.
It is so high tech.
It is.
Adds so much value.
Bro, here's what it adds. Look, while you're at it, Icon4X4 on Instagram.
Dare I say, I think I was lobbying you, or at least co-commiserating with you, like, man, it'd be so cool because we're always referencing, especially in the design focus of what we do. We're always referencing things. And
now it's in. Now it goes right in the show.
Yeah, it's just brilliant.
Follow John on Instagram, Icon4X4, and you can see his hobbies in visualized mode. And also some cool things you have built. Many cool things you have built. Just so... I mean, I'm not going to kid us into thinking we have listeners who have never heard of John Ward or never heard him on the Smoking Tire podcast or in one of our videos. John builds the dopest trucks, if you don't know. Icon 4x4 vehicles, Toyotas and Broncos, and then old...
Jalopies.
You can't encompass all of it in one thing.
Not really. We have a lot of fun revisiting classic transportation design in a modern context, and we, I guess, don't have the depth or the watchmaker like patience to own vintage Land Rovers and leave them stock. We're the best way to encapsulate. Did you actually drive that thing on your
across the country?
Across the country?
We drove it, but not across country.
Right. You
it was
towed
trailered,
it, and then
drove it
between
locally.
cities.
Okay,
right?
now we're more back at one
like,
with one another.
Yeah.
Think globally, act locally.
Because that's beyond martyrdom. Even if it would have been happy doing it.
We did find the one city that was, it's perfect for a Land Rover. It is.
What is the one
flat
city?
Portlandia.
No, it was Charleston.
Really?
Charleston is
Charleston?
absolutely perfect.
Look at this. Look at Cameron's hipster dog and hipster Land Rover. And
I follow Cam, of course, and I always thought it was. Now, what was the old truck you used to have? Was it a Dodge?
International Harvester.
Yeah, and you still have that?
Still have it.
Still have International Harvester.
Excellent.
Oh,
Yeah. Still got that.
It's frozen.
It's stock too. It's and it's a beast to drive. I was almost going to take it today, but I got a little scared.
You have driven it up here.
Oh yeah,
that truck.
Yeah,
it looks like anything could fall off at any second.
Which is
and
fun.
There's also,
it's a sway back like a mule.
When right where the bed meets the cab, it's a sag, and there's a real angle there that I feel like at one point was supposed to be straight.
I think it was, but it's kind of like the first gen Raptors after press week.
Exactly. I just drove one of the new ones with it. Had a nice big tune. Oh, we can't talk about cars here. I'm sorry.
Oh wait,
That's
wrong
for
show.
another
Wrong show. All right,
it's for another show. So let's talk about Mr. Ward and his watches, because Here's why. So we always try to talk about watches in the other room, and the audience gets very mad. Like, talk about this guy builds the coolest cars. Why are you talking about fucking watches?
Yeah,
And
we did
so-
get in trouble, I think, the last time.
Yeah, so now we're in the watch room.
So to hell with those car
To hell
geeks.
with the cars. It's watch day.
What I don't get, though, is car guys are watch guys are car guys.
Until
it's
they're not.
podcast subscribed.
No, until they're not. And then they don't. Do you know how many people I've had to explain that about automatic movement being kind of like an engine? Like, I've had to have that conversation with dozens of people.
Ooh, that's disturbing.
No, I'm happy to do it. And some have converted.
Well,
But
yeah, I
it's-
mean,
but
the
it's like-
evangelist angle of it is, yeah, hats off to you for doing it. But the fact that people don't get that.
I know. It's sad.
But I guess if you're like an Apple Watch guy, you never had a sexy mechanical wonder on your wrist with a sapphire clear back to look at and geek out on.
Although
Yeah.
there is
Kids
some crossover,
today.
but I saw a guy. I sat next to a guy on an airplane the other day on the way back from vacation who had a Yachtmaster 2 on one wrist and an Apple Watch on the other wrist. It's an interesting look.
I just read a study that I don't think I was supposed to read that was from one of the big global groups of watch brands, and they had done like a market survey and study, and wow, like the impact. You know, it's just interesting because obviously throughout history we see cycles repeat, right? And as I'm getting older in my late 40s, like I've lived long enough to see those cycles, right? Be it in real
Enough where you
estate
can predict the
or
next one. You
Oh
think?
hell no, I'm not that old or that smart. But it's interesting because if you think of like when Swatch hit the watch world, you could probably attribute a lot of the commercial failure in the traditional watch world would boil down to the arrogance of not acknowledging what changes are going to occur in the market from that new factor entering the market. And it's very interesting to me, at least from my perspective, and I'm curious to hear yours, that they did the same thing. I watch, it's computer. And like, it'll have no impact on us. And then you read their annual report where basically the cover should have been in like 120 size font. Fuck.
Really?
Oh man.
Guys, that's weird. I've heard I've heard that a lot of brands
There's a
are
lot
up.
of spin on it.
Yeah, or is that not the case?
Well, it's like right now versus what happens in 10 years is the big thing for mechanical watches. Right now, no big deal. Apple Watch, whatever. It's not gonna kill you now. It's gonna kill you in 10 years when you've lost all the millennial market
Yeah.
and you no longer can sell watches to that.
Yeah, but I mean, if
98
I've been reading different stuff than y'all have been reading as far as like current watch market, if you're $1,500 and down, you're kicking some ass. If you're in the chasm between say 1,500 to 10 grand, you're hurting.
I
and
read
then
it
15
differently.
north.
I read it differently. I read
Yeah?
it if you're between like more than 200 and less than 1,000, the Apple Watch owns that market. And if you're into a Swiss mechanical thing, they're doing okay. But I don't know.
But also
You're
the
also
loss of
smarter than me,
control
so you
over the
might be
Swiss
reading-
franc and the way the brands
Yeah.
either cut production back or discounted prices across the board. I just think there's a lot going on. There's a lot of factors involved, very few of which I get the vibe that they're really addressing head on. You know, unless you're talking about the MHTs or the Ressence or the Camerons, you know, the
new,
Mavericks, the
that
independent.
E-Crown thing is badass.
Don't get me
isn't it?
started. Yeah, I don't care
That's
about
awesome.
a smartwatch, but any of their watches, I love
it.
them.
I love it. Oh man,
And Pita, like no one seems to know about Pita.
what's
you know
pita? No, do you know about
Yeah,
pita?
yeah.
What's
Pita
pita?
rocks out of Barcelona.
How do you spell pita?
Pita. Don't hurt yourself there, big boy.
I don't know. It could be some weird thing.
So like some of their
Let's see
stuff
what
to me
Pita's
is like
about.
yes, almost, and then some of it like that just I don't get.
I'm
But
not.
the whole
Are these expensive? Is this a
yeah, they're fairly costly. That one I dig way more than
wow
that
slow
Roadster
motion
first.
tourbillon carousel?
So that knurled edge on the back side
like
of
a
the
Swatch
case
dial. What the
is used for they're crownless. So the whole winding tech.
Whoa! Does that whole thing? Is that the?
Yeah, they're
like-
doing everything in house.
Wow, that was really cool.
This
See,
dive watch, the Oceana, really kind of put them on the map, so to speak.
it's
although,
very
again, no
convenient
one
that their
knows about 'em.
website offers this animation for us
Right?
to use
Right?
on the show.
Quite lovely.
This is really nice.
And they're nice people. It's a father and son setup. And again, like love
Is
or
that
hate
Spain,
the
you
different
said?
designs. Yeah, out of Barcelona. But the they're pioneering. They are defining their own language, and I'm finding, or at least personally, I feel that brands that are doing that in the watch space have great opportunity right now due to the whatever arrogance or whatever we want to call it of the long-term storied big corporate bundled brands.
Yeah. I've been treated like shit by several Rolex authorized dealers in the last couple weeks.
Your only hopes through Bruce, because Bruce loves you, through Bruce Meyer.
Bruce Meyer.
Yeah.
I just joined the CF 200.
Oh, did you? Good.
Yes,
We'll have
the
some fun
checkered
together.
flag 200 is the club at the Peterson.
It's so much fun.
I just joined
been
it
a member for
today.
like 5 years.
I hung out with
Good
Bruce
stuff.
Meyer the other day and just
I
joined it.
love
I
Bruce.
can't wait to hang out.
One of
I'm
my
very
favorite
excited.
humans, and he owns Geary's, so that's your back door into the Rolex
Oh,
world.
really?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, Bruce is like the last guy who's going to mention that, but yeah.
Well, he was wearing a fly gold Daytona with a white dial and an alligator bracelet with a gold clasp on it. It was boss.
Yeah.
It was a boss move.
You don't really screw around.
No.
No.
Bruce Meyer, for those unfamiliar, is one of California's premier car collectors and is one of the nicest gentlemen you'll ever meet.
Yeah,
but
just a wonderful
is
guy.
a boss.
Yeah.
Like,
Subtle boss, too.
Subtle boss, but he.
And you know what?
I know we were talking about cars, but I sat down next to him and he's like, "You ever heard of a company called Roof?" I'm like, "Yeah, Bruce, I've heard of Roof before." He goes, "I just bought one." Oh, cool, man.
The owner of Roof is such a cool character.
Aloha?
Yeah.
I hear he's
what
a maniac.
Yeah, he's a total nut.
So I go, which one did you buy? Like one of those CTR things? He goes, "It's called a Yellowbird." I'm like, "Fuck." Which Yellowbird? Oh, the first ever production customer yellow. Oh, just that. Let's talk about your watches. Let's not have the watch crowd get all mad at us.
All right,
Roof.
back to core.
But no, we have 2 studios. This one is for watches.
I understand the rules. I saw the sign.
Don't
put it on me.
Leave your keys at the fucking door and bring out the Pelican case. So,
All right. So what are we talking about? You want to talk about this G and under focus, which I think is cool. I get a lot of requests mostly from like friends on Instagram asking, "Hey, what's a good place to start?"
Affordable
for
vintage.
watches?
Affordable
Yeah,
vintage.
yeah.
And I got the most popular request we've had actually is affordable vintage.
Yep.
And so I, rather than trying to figure out, I was like, John has affordable vintage. Let's get him on here. And you're a tastemaker with a great vest and a great shirt. He rolled up and I was like, I need to get into vests. But I want to see what you're buying specifically in the $500 to $1,000 range. Oh boy, can we fit this on
Yeah,
there?
we'll make room.
He's pulling out the case.
Here we go.
Pelican $14.95 case. Is that? Oh, we can't. Are you just gonna? Oh my God. Maybe we should have done that part before. Holy shit! There's like 30 fucking watches in here. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 32. He's got a 32 watch case.
This Pelican rocks. I found this guy on Instagram.
Oh my God.
And he laser cuts the little pillow.
Yeah, and this is hard foam. Oh, good for this.
Right?
This is a great watch case. Where do we even? Okay, wait.
How do we get that on camera?
How do we? Well, it's on camera, but how do? We got to figure out how to.
We can just do like a watch pile.
Hang on, I'm gonna pause this, and we're gonna reorganize. We're back. All right, we went through the Pelican, and we had to make some executive decisions. So if someone's paused the video, looked at the Pelican, and one of the things we've come up with is not one of the things you saw, I apologize. We picked things that are either historically significant or a particularly good value or particularly cool looking, and was that? I bet that's not even every watch you have that falls into that category. How many watches do you have, John?
Well, let me think. My wife doesn't listen to this podcast. Yeah, we're good. About 140.
That's a lot of watches.
Yeah.
And it's at a certain point, do you ever go, "This is more than I can ever wear," or does it become satisfying?
No, it does. Like right now, in fact, I just put aside like 22 that either I got, and then a year or two later, I got one that had a better patina or a better color or whatever, and bought that. And then let's see. Yeah, it's time to trim the herd. I'm going to sell off a bunch here.
Ooh, all right. Bring your large diameters in for me before you. So, where should we start? Do you want to just grab something and?
I think
throw it under the
a
thing?
fun category to me is trench watches. You know, World War I and II watches. I at least find very interesting and really undervalued. and super funky, cool style and sterling cases or, enamel porcelain dials.
Give us a visual, Cameron. Throw something under there for us. Let's get us. Look at that. That's very pretty. That's an
Funky.
enamel
It's
dial.
different. Yeah, and where are you going to run into that? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never going to see anybody with that watch on.
No.
Which is good
And
fun.
it's the case. Turn it kind of like sideways a bit. The case has some like real dimension to it because it's got the relief sort of on the side of it. So when we were at the Weiss Watch Company open house this past weekend, we had someone asked me, and I meant to ask you, but you were busy. What defines a field watch? Is it just the style? Just the style.
It's really just a style thing. There was a point where there was people making trench watches where they were actually like creating a watch in the trenches.
I'm sorry. What do you mean creating
like this,
in the trenches?
Yeah, exactly. You could
like trench art. Where guys will take shrapnel or housings from large caliber bullets and such, and they would fashion them into all sorts of nifty little things. Like I've got a little
man will do just about anything to keep his mind occupied.
Exactly. No, I got this killer little like Red Baron airplane that's made out of old shells.
Oh, really?
Some dude to try and not lose his mind, probably sat
Just
there
made
and
it,
hammered
all right.
away and made it. And like that first one that we're looking at, that was made and offered up like in celebration of a particular military campaign.
Oh.
So like Cameron was saying, I mean, it could have literally been made by the dudes in the trenches and shared just amongst their infantry group. I don't know. But that's kind of part of the fun to me is that unknown and the uniqueness of it. I know I'm never, ever, ever going to stumble into another one.
Yeah.
And there's just all that history. And sometimes like the inscriptions and engravings and just there's story on story on story. Some of these are early ones, and this is a World War I piece. In fact, it's dated, 1916?
Is there a date on there somewhere?
Yeah,
I saw it. I think
on
1940.
right up there. Yeah.
So they usually, even if the diameter of the watch gets sufferably cool, which this one's, I think, a 38, I'd guess. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, about a 38, so it's a good size. But they have these teeny weeny little wussy bands. So that's always
42.
a challenge. So
did you make that?
Yeah,
band?
so I made that band and cheated it a wee bit.
I think that looks. I think it looks
Right?
really nice.
And that's a 42.
Yeah, so I'd say
On the right.
maybe it's 39.
It's tough when
Yeah.
you're a bigger guy, man, and all these vintage watches are really small. It's hard to find the big ones.
But they're not. It's hard to find the big ones, but they're out there.
Well, I think one of the answers. Where's the pocket watch converted one?
Yeah,
I think
this
a lot of
package.
is that this
there we
guy.
go.
Yeah.
This is the answer for guys with bigger hands who want to wear vintage watches. I think is these pocket watches converted into wrist watches.
And you'd be surprised though. I mean, if as we go through the other trench watches, I mean, I've got a killer not so little Omega that's like 40 mil, and you'll find the first and second war watches up to 42, 43 mil, and they're generally pretty chunky.
Wait, is this one, John? This looks like an actual pocket
This is
watch
an actual
case
pocket
that
watch.
just had
Yeah.
wire lugs
It's
wire
exploded
lugs,
onto
yep.
it.
Just been lugged. And
Like the word lug as a verb. Lugged.
lugged.
It's
Why
been
not,
lugged.
right?
That
We did
works.
now.
Yeah,
Loved
yeah.
and lugged.
Yeah.
But that came from a friend of mine who has a company called Doughboy Watch Company.
Doughboy.
Yeah, and he's a really good guy.
Is it spelled Doughboy?
Yes, sir, it is. And that's all he does is find early pocket watches and maintain the case, restore the movements, and
Wow, these look
lug
beautiful.
them up and band them.
And lots of bund straps.
Yeah.
Which is this look here of the big leather strap with the watch sort of mounted
As
on
a
top
leather
of it.
geek, I chew his ass about his straps because the edges aren't finished or
This one's
coated or
called-
burnished or anything, but whatever.
Destroyer of Worlds. $1,500. That's a beautiful enamel dial.
And he doesn't
for
screw
$1,500.
around. He properly, he has, I think, 3 watchmakers now that are really older than dirt gentlemen who they comb through every one of them in detail. And he does a lovely job.
These are very pretty.
Yep. So, yeah, that's one way to go because you'll find those upwards of, 40 to 47 millimeter even. But even the original transition wrist watches, you will find them up in the larger size. It's like that Elange World War II watch that's like 54 millimeters,
it's-
like designed to be worn on the
outside
on
of your
top
jacket.
of your shearling flight suit.
Yeah.
That's a wee bit
Long
much.
made one of those?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
it's
know that.
Badass.
You ever see those? You go to see those U-boat watches?
Yeah.
It's like wearing like a manhole cover.
But you know what they found a market, bro?
Oh, Habibi.
And actually, Chris one of the founders of the brand's a friend of mine, and yeah, there's tons of story there. You
Yeah.
know, again, like we say in the car world, pardon me, gentlemen, there's an ass for every seat. So there's a wrist for every watch, but it just doesn't sound as poetic.
And actually, they were good looking watches. I look at it the same way I look as the Dodge Challenger. Like, give me an 80% scale version of this,
That's
and
exactly
I'm on board.
my opinion.
You
Yeah,
know
totally.
what I mean?
Definitely. I want the 5
Or
or
it looks like
7/8
you shoved
version.
it looks like you shoved a bike pump into a Panerai and went thump, thump, thump.
Totally. Exactly.
Okay, so pocket watches, vintage pocket watches converted into
Now those become more of they're relatively inexpensive and they're cool looking, but value wise, they're somewhat considered worthless,
okay.
right? From a collector perspective, because they're altered and whatever.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the one I've been looking for that I want to leave as a pocket watch is the IWC, just in this rush of new jump hours that are showing up this week at the Basel show. Is it Paul Weber, I think was his name, who's the original designer of the jump hour movement?
Yeah, the one that
1890 something.
It looks almost like they knocked you off.
No, they're going back to their own history, and the watch is kick ass, but it's like 45G or whatever, the new wristwatch. But
just saw it.
you find those on eBay, the original pocket watch versions, for $300 to $1,000, which I think we're going to start see jumping north in a hurry because of the wristwatch.
This is the new IWC tribute to Paul Weber.
Yeah.
Wait, Paul Weber, that's not a person. Paul Weber, is that a thing?
No, I do believe it was a person, and I could be totally wrong, but I believe it was the gentleman who originally patented the movement, and he first licensed it to IWC, and it went out to a couple other niche makers, and then it hit the market at large later. So yeah, this image you're just pulling up is what a lot of people call bullshit, but I still dig. That is a repurposed pocket watch in a new case.
Oh.
The only thing I've learned with those, because I'll fall in love with them and I'll buy them online and they show up and the execution is just sharp. So there's like some guys in Eastern Europe who do amazing rock star jobs. Like they're laying out their cases and they're doing gorgeous work.
He's off today. He's on vacation.
And then there's some that are just
Yuri
a
has
bucket
been
of
this
shit.
one.
Yeah. So
Yuri,
that can be
he
a
is
wee
apprentice.
bit delicate. But yeah, if you look below that, that's the original pocket watch, which is
wait.
super sexy in its own right.
Here.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that is extremely sexy.
Super cool.
And you hold it kind of on the side. Yeah, what does it say? 1885 on there?
Yep.
How about that? And that's an
Super cool.
IWC pocket watch?
That is not the IWC, so that might be one of Paul's independents before the IWC deal. And then I can't remember the other brand, but you see them pop up online fairly often.
If you scroll down a little, we catch a movement here.
Oh,
show you how it's
that's
done.
how the jump hour movement looks.
Yeah.
Whoa. It
Kinda
looks
like
like
a year work.
like a Mazda rotary engine. Yeah, you almost, don't you just kind of want to see like just a sapphire crystal thrown over that with
Hell
no
yeah.
dial?
I'd rock that
Right?
all day.
What if you had a crystal over that with just like
Just
the
an
etching,
etching.
just an etching
Yeah.
right around your window?
To frame it up.
Yeah, there's the
That'd
other
be
brand
so
they
baller.
reference there, Quarterbert, I think it's called.
Yeah, Cortabert.
Yeah. Which
That movement is so cool looking. I would love to have a watch that was just that. It's like a your work. Yeah, so cool. Okay, what is it if you wanted to go with a nice like a real pocket watch made into a watch? What's your price range for something like that?
with the original, it would basically just lugs applied to
Yeah.
an original. I'd say you can find good examples of those starting at about $700.
Okay.
And hey, there's nothing.
Is that usable as a watch?
Totally.
Okay.
You know, I mean, obviously it's not, what's it called? Inca block or whatever. It's not
what's that?
isolated from.
Inca block?
Yeah,
Is that a thing?
so on the balance wheel,
Uh-huh.
you have a really heavy weight around the rim of the wheel,
Okay.
and then you have tiny little pivots. The axle of that wheel are the smallest pivots in the watch. So if you hit the watch on something
Oh.
or you shock it, which that happens when it's on your wrist, the rim of the balance wheel will shift and actually break the pivots off of the balance.
Oh.
So there's a shock setting that was introduced later
When was
wrist
that
watches.
introduced? About the 30s? No, even later.
No, it was
huh?
later than that. I think it was the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know exactly, but there was a bunch of companies that came out with it, and then there's only a few that exist today. Everyone had a different shape of the spring. It was a retaining spring that holds a jewel, and the jewel can essentially shift side to side
Oh, cool.
as the pivot. If you look up Inca block,
Is it like Inca?
INCA.
INCA, yeah,
Oh, BLOC.
But you know what?
one
I
word.
get it. And like if we're talking about a watch that you're gonna really beat the piss out of, like Tool Watch Modern, yeah, not good. But other than that, like
All right.
I've never had a problem with that.
What's the Inca block?
So the Inca block is this whole setting here.
This
And
entire image
This
is an Inca
entire
block.
image,
Okay.
except for the pivot coming up through the bottom.
And the pivot
That's
is the thing
axle
that
of
looks like
balance wheel.
the pin sticking up from the middle and the bottom there.
Yeah, so it goes through this setting, and there's oil in here. And what can happen is this whole setting of the jewel can shift. It's only being retained by this spring, the brass-colored spring.
So it's a shock absorber for the core of the movement, in essence.
Cool.
Exactly, so you don't break the pivots anymore. It could mean that the whole jewel shifts to the side and doesn't end up coming back to the center, and your watch will not run properly.
But it won't
But a
break
watchmaker
off.
just opens it and then readjusts that.
Yeah.
It doesn't break
This
anything.
image looks like the pieces
So
of
yeah,
it
if you're planning
exploded.
on playing racquetball or hanging out in the jacuzzi, I would not recommend a World
pocket
War
watch.
One or two nor pocket watch.
What
Yeah,
if you're
'cause they're also
shooting
not
musket?
water resistant
What
at
about if
all.
you're shooting muskets and stabbing people with bayonets? Would
No
you recommend a World
Proven.
War One?
Takes a beat and
Yeah.
keeps on killing.
Cool. What else do we have over
There's
there?
a couple more World War Ones and twos. I think that's an early Omega. That I scored in Europe for like $600. It runs like a top, kick ass.
This one's the
Oh, that's
the
Niv-
Nivram.
That's the elusive Nivram.
What is Nivram?
You know, no one has been able to tell me, and I'd love someone on this
Really? No
listener
one?
base to please tell me. So, most watch geeks know Marvin, right? Great Swiss brand, good quality, around long time, started whoring out by the 70s, but in the old days, good product. So I know that brand. I have a couple of their watches down to like, I know what the font looks like. But this watch is the same font, but it's backwards. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's a misprint dial. Well, that doesn't make sense because then the N would be inverted. Then I take it apart and look at the movement, and even the movement is stamped Nivram.
Huh.
So it's been the greatest mystery of watchdom because were they thinking, was that like their Kmart line versus their Neiman Marcus line? So they thought they'd come out with a name. But I've like had search notifies going for like 2 years.
Nothing.
And nothing. And I watch every watch geek I know. I'm like, dude, what's a Nivram? And they're like, I don't know.
Talking about on this show is probably a good way to find someone will know.
Right?
I swear to God, Cameron, when we did the history of watchmaking, I swear I had read a story about a guy who sold his company and then changed the name backwards and started making watches again.
well,
And I
that
could
could be it.
swear it was Nivram.
yeah.
That he owned the Marvin company, sold it, and then went to like...
So he made like no watches.
Yeah, no, I don't think it worked out, but
Well, cool. Then maybe this watch is worth more than what I paid. I don't really care.
Well,
but
no,
I
I
made
mean-
the band with some leftover leathers from the 50. Was it the 50?
oh yeah,
Yeah, from the 50
derelict,
Buick
right?
derelict.
The Buick,
we did.
yeah.
Yeah, I took
John's
the
got a
trimmings
car
off.
he built with this badass is it alligator or ostrich or
No,
something?
it's just cowhide, but it's
Oh,
out of
really?
this funky
Looks
tannery
nice.
in Mexico, so it kind of looks like reptile dinosaur
It's
hide.
very cool. It's so nice how much extra leather you have laying around to
it's
me.
very beneficial. Yeah.
At least if you're stuck buying all these tools all the time, or stuck, if you're impulsively buying all
Yeah,
these,
exactly.
at least you get the
Compulsively
materials
even.
for free, right?
Right?
Yeah.
That's a neat one to show too. That's is it Helvetia? I think was the
Yeah.
brand. I paid $300 for that. It's 41 millimeter.
That's
Killer,
a cool
but
watch.
yeah, super cool.
I
Killer
really
classic.
like the. I'm going to zoom in on this. I like
mean, it's-
the font of the numbers on the dial.
Oh, totally.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
You're a geek like I am for typeface.
I love
it's
typeface and
everything.
fonts.
And what kills me on so many new watches, some of these modern watch companies, like there'll be like 5 or 6 different typefaces on one watch. Like on the movements
Yeah, yeah.
one, on the date wheels another, on this, and it's like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
the continuity in the design is what's going to make the design. But
That's a
Nice
great.
to me.
That's a really nice. Just black, white lines. Sort of, what is it? Reddish.
so I mean, the aesthetic of that is on par with $15,000 IWCs and the like in the current market. I
And
figure-
Cameron's watch.
right?
Yeah, very similar.
Totally, because I mean, those.
In fact, the
modern
name
ones
even
are
sounds a little German.
certainly referencing
Yeah.
that time.
So not that I need you to blow up all your sources, but like, how hard do you have to look to find stuff like this at a reasonable price?
It's odd to me that the watch world online is so uniquely fragmented, right? If we look at so many other segments of goods and services, it's so easy to find. But in the watch world, you have a billion different guys and sites that are only on their own little site.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have like 20 dealers that I like that I'll check out their site once in a while. Instagram has turned out to be really
I
a
follow
great
a
way
few
to stay up with the community. So
vintage Seiko dealers and stuff.
so I stick with some of the dealers I know. I'll see what they put up on Instagram, and works out really well.
I'm stretching my phone.
Oh, I thought you were pointing your thumb.
No,
and I was
I'm
trying
sorry,
to
I'm
determine
sorry.
what does this thumbs up mean. I know in some countries that's not cool.
No, I'm down.
It's all right here.
I'm down here. Look, my tennis elbow. I'm stretching.
Checking
I'm
out your
sorry.
own tattoo.
Yeah, right.
So vain.
Sorry. Distracted.
So yeah, I mean, but the way I look at it, it's kind of part of the fun. And good old eBay. There's still bargains to be had on eBay.
I got burned twice on eBay.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, twice in a row, and I was like, I don't think I can buy watches off the fucking.
Well, no, I
internet.
mean, you want to play it safe, you go to CNC. But, at the same time, they're not carrying this sort of
they don't
obscure,
sell
obtuse
this
stuff.
Yeah.
So,
But I got burned by like vintage Seikos with bunk movements. Oh, what? That's not in the show. Don't worry. That's just
All right.
that's.
The other thing that I notice is people get stuck on brands that like, it's a Swiss brand they know of today and can see at the local boutique. Whereas in the old days, most of these dudes were sharing movements anyway.
Yeah.
And if you get into like the defunct brands, massive bargains to be had.
Yeah.
There's some killer stuff. In some cases, like I've got a couple that there is no brand on it. But when, if they're smart enough to show you the movement, you see it's a Valjoux or whatever it is. It's like it's
this
easy to
works
service.
just as good
It's
as
it's got a small block Chevy in it.
Yeah.
The design's unique. The patina, I'm a sucker, as you know, for patinas. I mean, I've got one here, which is probably in our next round, that's just absolutely beat to shit. I paid $30 for it. I love it.
Yeah.
It runs like a top.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the Universal Geneva versus the Chronograph Swiss.
Yeah,
The
really
Chronograph
good
Swiss
example.
is going to be half the price every single time.
Even less now.
Yeah.
And it's
I've been
exactly the same
jonesing
watch?
for.
Same exact watch.
I've been wanting the big. I forget the reference number because I'm not that smart, but the jumbo tri-compacts.
Okay, yeah, triple date chronograph one, yeah.
But like the one that uses the pointer indicators applied. And in the last year, I was hemming and hawing at those. They were like $5,000. They're like 15 plus now.
Wow.
This guy?
That's crazy.
Yeah, but that's like the 35. They're still more of a bargain. But yeah, it's in that class, but they made 2 or 3 versions of it that are like 38, 39 mil. Oh, there it is. Go next row down, second from the left.
This guy? That's dope.
Yeah, that's actually not what I thought it was.
vintage chronograph? I mean,
Yeah, but that's the Compur. That's not the tri-compacts. But there's one with a black dial, and they talk about font love, like the coolest font for our time.
I can't read any of the numbers on that one.
Keep going down, because if we can find it, I think the audience would really dig it. Like, just what it needs is more people wanting it and the price going higher.
Here's
but
a good font. No, compact.
No.
No.
Do black tri-compacts. Let's see if we can find it. No, that's fine. Black tri-compacts.
Sorry, audience. We're Googling things now. Is it this?
No.
That's a good font, though. We're
That's
fine. This
cool.
company does use
And
awesome
that's expensive.
I don't know.
All right, we're totally running.
We're on the
show.
30
You're
seconds
losing,
limit
you're
of
losing
learning
people.
thing.
All right, whatever.
Kill it.
Trust me, it's damn
Kill
cool.
it. Kill
okay,
it.
It's gone.
I want you to tell me about the watch that looks like the Franck Muller before Franck Muller. Is that Longines?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Longines. So that's probably from the turn of the century. Cam, remind me, what do you call that when you have to push in
The
that
lever
secondary-
set.
Yeah, lever set,
Yeah.
which is kind of a bitch. but
What does that mean?
So
this
to
little lever here.
Yeah, to set the
Wait, what?
time, you have to push in that lever to relieve the pressure before turning the crown.
The thing next to the
Yeah,
crown?
the lever actually, instead of pulling the stem out
Uh-huh.
and then having it click into position, there's no part inside that is spring loaded connecting to the stem. So you actually press this little button here, which then engages the gears so that you can change the time.
And that's not good. That's not a good design.
No, it's just outdated.
Old.
Just what it was. It works fine if
Like
you don't
cranking your
bully
car
it.
to start it.
Exactly.
It's just old.
It seems like a
Yeah.
option that works.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't have many of this case design. Usually they're teeny weeny, but this had a nice bulk and size to it. I picked that up in New York. That dealer at 666 Fifth Avenue, Aaron Faber,
I don't know.
which
Sure.
they're good people. I was picking up a really rare Heuer Monaco from him that he had tracked down and stored for me until I could chipmunk enough cash on the side. And then and he had this, and it was literally probably $350.
Well, considering
Like-
Franck Mueller's are 10,000, that's a good deal. And that, if this is older than that,
Is
clearly he
there
stole the
there
idea.
a brand on Instagram that gets its ass kicked more than Mueller? It's
Yeah,
hysterical.
Hublot.
Oh, Hublot,
Hublot,
exactly.
for sure.
It's definitely
Nobody
up there
takes
with
Hublot
the.
seriously. I've seen some of their watches in person. I can't like them. I just can't.
I can
Try.
totally respect the diversity and the innovation in materials and the fit and finish. Right? Am I alone
Yeah,
on
oh,
this?
definitely.
I mean, it's amazing.
I mean,
the
they're-
styling and
I
whatever is.
saw that. The
You know what?
red
I'm
thing
gonna.
they just came out with.
I'm gonna admit I have a Big Bang.
Okay.
I'm gonna be man enough to own that.
Well,
Do I wear it? And I don't. But when it first came out, it was so novel, and I was so impressed with the turnaround of that brand.
No, here, look.
But I'm over
How
it.
about this? The new one, the Unico Red Magic.
know
Red
what?
on red on red on red.
Listen, they know their market, and they're refining the product to appeal to that market. It's the U-boat guy grown up. U-boat guy grown
Yeah,
up
with more money.
or cashed out.
It looks like their dial there is really trying to be Richard Mille.
Aren't they all? There's so many brands copying that poor guy.
I mean, the watches are kind of cool.
Yeah.
They're big. They're way bigger on a human wrist than they look on fucking Instagram.
Nothing's silly bigger than a Devon.
Oh, the belt watch,
The belt watch.
dude. We were just talking about that the other day.
They're novel, but like
It's hilarious.
asinine.
Wait, dude, they are so. If you haven't seen this before, there is
Did you ever interview them on the car side?
no.
You
but
know
I've
their whole
had-
story?
I mean, I know the thing with the rebodied Vipers.
Right. And that wasn't going so well. So
Yeah.
they did the watch as a fundraiser for the car. And then the watches kept selling. And they're like, fuck the car.
So
It
this
has
is
the
the
two
Devon,
noise settings,
the
which is
Tread
pretty
One,
funny.
the
Yeah.
belt-driven watch, and you're wearing like a treadmill on your wrist.
Pretty much. And it's about the size of a treadmill for a small adult. But the crazy thing is how crazy loud it is. And there's two settings
Yeah.
so you can chill it out. But I mean, whatever.
It's
Again,
hilarious.
it's novel.
Justin Bell's got one because he worked with Devon. I think they gave him one. It is hilarious.
Yeah.
I think it's really weird and cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's quite novel because again, it's so innovative. It's off the paved road. You know,
the
hot
Tread
launch,
2 is better. This is way better.
that's more reasonable.
Yeah,
that's like a Sistos.
that's more the
Plus,
Tread 2.
the first one needed to be recharged. Like, I think it was daily.
Oh, is
right?
it
It
electric?
was-
It's electric.
yeah, they're electric.
What is this? The Tread 3? Star Wars themed Tread
Oh,
for
no.
30 G's, bro. Star Wars themed. Dun,
So
dun, dun,
while
dun, dun.
we're talking about novel watch designs, last year at Basel, I could have had my ass kicked, and I got lucky. He was quite gracious, but I was with two watchmaker friends, and we went by the booth of. They were making the Star Wars watches and the Donkey Kong watches.
Romain Giron?
Romain Giron,
Yeah.
right? So we go by the booth, and they've dedicated, like, you know, of course, it's some like
How do you
six-digit
spell
asinine
Giron?
booth.
G-E-R-O-N?
Jerome.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
Jerome.
there. So the entire booth, it's like, you know, Bloomingdale's on Fifth Avenue in New York. All the square footage is dedicated to this watch that's based on an 80s video game. So some guy comes up that knows the guys I'm hanging with, and he turns to me, and we introduce, hi, and he turns back, and he references the booth. He says, "Yeah, there it is on the right." He's like, "So
The Tetris DNA?
The Tetris." He's like, "So what do you think of it?" I could have sworn it was Donkey Kong, but I mean they've done.
There might be a
Pac-Man.
Donkey Kong. Hey, look,
I
here,
believe
Batman,
there was a Donkey Kong one.
Space Invaders, Spice-Man.
So he goes.
Spice-Man, sorry.
He goes. So
Spider-Man,
Pokemon?
What do you think of that new design? I'm like, I think it's stupid. Like, it just makes no fucking sense to me. And I'm like, so what do you do? He goes, oh, I'm the lead designer for Romain Jerome.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
okay, I'll be eating my shoes now.
Limited edition though, 84 pieces. Limited.
No, the irony is they all sell out.
How much is this?
It has a tribal following.
I think they're around like 20 grand.
Yeah,
What?
20,
Yeah,
30,
some of them
40.
even more.
Oh, yeah. No, they get up
20
to 6 digits.
No.
Yeah, because he does tourbillons with like the rusty Titanic.
I saw the
hull
rusty
and
Titanic.
everything.
Look at this. There's Titanic themed right here.
Yeah.
Titanic inside, steampunk tourbillon Titanic.
So he launched the brand, at least
Wow,
to my
look at that.
understanding, with his first Titanic. Then he's evolved that into the Torb and other things. But
I like his barnacled bezel.
so
That's kinda
at least
cool.
on the original one, that was literally from salvage pieces.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of the
wow.
Titanic. And he does one with a moon surface, a moon dial.
The moon dust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I mean.
Oh, here it
again,
is. Look, Titanic steel bezel.
So look,
Rusted,
even if it's
oxidized, and
not-
stabilized Titanic steel bezel.
Just like the automotive space, there's a lot of builders that I have great respect for. The fact that they're, creating an aesthetic, they're doing something unique versus copying everyone else. And look, at the end of the day, his watches don't need to appeal to everyone. So,
No, this one is cool.
so
And
I
the-
say
the-
hats
but-
off,
But,
kudos.
But,
But Donkey fucking Kong, that's where I had to draw.
well,
the
what's
line.
his name? Bamford does those Popeye Rolexes, right?
Yeah.
With the Popeye dials. But like that's just a paint on the dial and it hands. Like I get that. But like to make a Tetris style and sell it.
You should have George on the
30
show.
grand.
He's such a good guy.
I would love to. He seems awesome on
Yeah,
Instagram.
he's this wonderful guy,
You know,
yeah.
you must be homies with that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I know his brother and sister. I mean, I don't know them, but I've at least met them. George and I have communicated digitally for years, but have yet to be on the same continent
seems like
at the same
fun.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he did a really clever move. As you see, he's created change at Rolex. Rolex is literally starting to acknowledge and respond to the subculture that, for the most part, we could say he created in the Rolex world.
Yeah.
For
They
those
put,
now
they
he's
put
doing
red on
deals with-
the Sea Dweller.
Right?
For those who don't know
Right?
what
They went crazy that year.
Crazy that year.
Bamford is a watch aftermarket shop.
But
So they
now he's doing direct with
yeah.
OEs.
So they mainly got famous by blacking out Rolexes.
But are we supposed to say Zenith or Zenith? I'm still not clear on that.
I say Zenith and they can go fuck themselves. That's a problem.
There you go.
I don't care. But they mainly started by blacking shit out, and then they do like weird color combinations.
When
And,
Zenith first came to the U.S., they didn't think the name was right. It wasn't going to work well.
Really?
So what did they market under in the U.S.?
I don't know.
Movado.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, how about
so you'll
that?
see like early El Primeros
That are
branded Movado versus Zenith. And in fact, I
Are
have
they worth
one
more or less?
less. It's the same shit. I saved like a significant amount of money by not caring what it said on the dial.
Bamford charges a lot of money to make this shit black.
Yeah, he ain't messing around.
he charges a lot of money to make his shit
and,
black.
Yeah, and the resale's horrible. But you know what's
Yeah.
cool though? At least his coatings.
Are they good?
Yeah, he's not screwing around. He's doing proper DLCs and really intelligent mechanical tooth on the substrate versus there's a lot of guys who've kind of climbed into his space. Story of, we've seen that happen.
Yeah. The first guy does a really good job, and then everyone goes, "How do I get like
Copies
75%
it, right? And then you see
of the way
them
there?"
literally like flaking off
Yeah.
or oxidizing.
Where
all
we're
that
seeing
sort
it
of
now
stuff.
the most in terms of cars is with Singer.
Oh, sure.
Like everybody wants to be 50 or 60% of the way
I don't
to
have,
Singer.
and even in my little arena, I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the number of Land Cruiser and Bronco shops that are, heading
Yeah.
into our model.
Yeah.
That's why, like in the watch world, I don't care any design world, the part of the value of the product to me is that it shouldn't appeal to everyone, and it really pisses me off when you see people just copying somebody's design and aesthetic. Like, come on, just
How
do
many
your
fake
own
Submariners are people going to try and sell?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like it's like people send like I appreciate the enthusiasm. I know not everyone can afford a Submariner, but like you probably shouldn't buy the thing that looks just like a Submariner but is like $200.
Well, you know, the only one I've been like tempted to hit and go for is the 50 Fathoms recreation.
Oh, the
that some of
Seiko
the guys
50
are creating.
Fathoms, right?
Yeah, because the one I want's like 40 grand, and like I don't see that in my near future, unless I like sell all my.
You got me
sell
on
half
that
of my
50
watches.
Fathoms tip.
Yeah.
Originally, I got the loaner 50 Fathoms.
I know,
from
you
Crown and Caliber.
bastard.
I ended up not loving it actually.
Really? Why?
It didn't sit right on my wrist. It set kind of wonky. I think it was 15 G's used or something. It didn't feel like 15 G's to me. But that.
But see, here's the thing. To me, the game changer with that is you had a modern heritage watch.
Yeah.
You get one that's like, has been through the Arctic Circle on an icebreaker and, all the story, and it's all patina and beat to shit. I think that then suddenly you have a different tolerance for the heft.
You just multiplied the price by 5 for that beat to shit.
Well, I don't need any help on that one.
Wait, all right. What else do we have in terms of? Let's go back to the topic.
I love like bullnose watches personally.
What is that?
They're super comfortable.
What is a bull? Oh,
so some people call them bullhead, some call them bullnose. But what's cool about them is the best form of the design. If you hold it in profile, you'll see it's cantered towards the viewer, right? And then the crowns being at 12 o'clock, they don't rub on your wrist. So the utility of it, right? You're less arm rotation to get what you need while diving or driving or whatever the hell you're doing.
If you're using it as a stopwatch, having the buttons on top makes a ton of sense.
And even if you're not, just ergonomically, I get annoyed by crowns personally a lot. So
you must love that E-crown thing.
Except it's a smartwatch, I'm out.
It's not really a smartwatch. It's a linked mechanical watch. It's not smart.
Yeah, but as soon as that stops working, what's the point
I'm
of
out.
it?
It's like a new 7 Series. In 2 years, you're fucked no matter what.
That's why you lease.
Well, show me where I can lease the right watch. So anyway, there's 2 of those Sornas that I brought.
Where's Sorna from?
That's Swiss.
Okay.
I think they run a 7000 series Val. I'm not positive. But anyway, they're like super 60s, 70s, funky and colorful. They're really accurate. They have a billion variants and world times and different setups, but they're cheap. And I don't know why, who, or from where, but in the last 30 days, they've started showing up specifically on eBay from 2 different sellers, and they're blowing out new old stock ones for like $200 to $300.
It looks awesome.
Hard to beat.
Like, they look a lot like Seikos from the 70s and the colors and stuff like that. But this one especially is like hefty.
Yeah.
I like it. Does this work?
Yep.
It does, right? Chronograph?
Yep. All these work.
I'm going to put this one on.
Go for it,
feel it. I want to feel it. Sorna. So this is just one of those companies that did not survive the quartz crisis.
Yeah, like Laffaire.
Can't get it around my wrist at all. Fat wrist. Wah wah.
So get a band with more links. You can handle it.
It's dope. I would definitely wear this. What are all this thing has like 5
this?
knobs on it. What do all these? Okay, so this is a world time function, and I want to see
world time and chrono.
Yeah, I want to see what cities it has on here. Like, what does it define? Buenos Aires, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Rio. Where does that? The Azores.
I saw vintage world time recently, but Tokyo was spelled Tokio. But I mean, it's an original dial. Was that like certain languages? That's how they spelled Tokyo. I was quite curious.
It must have been.
Hey, where's Theron?
Fuck if I know.
Might not exist
it's between
anymore.
Charlize's knees.
Does Theron exist anymore?
That was pretty funny.
It was. Very good. All right. Those are
and then like total no names, like this funky world time big chunky bugger. I think it's called Rewel, or like Rewel or something.
Rewel. I don't know.
Oh, I pulled this one out. I thought this dial looked super cool.
And unique case size.
So do you just like search term vintage world time, something like that? Is that?
Yeah, I'll do world time and then I'll set the year of manufacture window. I also sometimes just go completely blind and do case size.
Oh yeah.
And year of manufacture.
That's a good one. What year of manufacture tends to yield the best results?
Realistically, if you search a case size of 39 or higher, anything earlier than 1940, it's likely going to be a recase or some sort of bullshit. But you never know. Usually 37 mil is wears surprisingly well in the early pieces, especially the Omegas. I think, like, even for you, big boy, that's a 37. Is that too small for you, or would you rock it?
Probably. We're gonna find out. I think we can let the audience decide. I don't know. I think that's right on the edge. Like, I could wear that as like with a suit.
Totally rock it.
Yeah, with a suit. But it's starting to look a little small.
And the quality and the diversity of these early Omegas, like
throw this under there, Kevin.
Late 40s to 60s. Again, they made several series.
This Omega
and the
looks
rare
like
ones, 37 to 39 mil. Killer bargain.
It looks like the kind of watch that like an egghead at NASA would wear, not the astronaut, like the guy doing the math.
And like this one, I scored. It's the original band. It's the original clasp. It's the original crown. Like, it's totally unbuggered. And kind of cool and timeless. And they're obviously being an Omega, service and parts distributions. Really, really
How
cool.
is Omega with their very vintage stuff? Are they good with it?
I don't go to Omega for service. Anytime I felt their service was pathetically bad.
Huh.
So I'll go to independent service guys that know where the hordes of parts are languishing. But I've had actually nothing but bad experience trying to work directly with Omega on service.
Good to know.
Super arrogant. And like, if you say, hey, don't replace this and that, just do this, they won't hear it. In fact,
I've heard that before.
Those
from
super
Rolex
sexy bullnose, like cream colored dial with the racetrack checker on the outboard. The 60s, it's a 60s Omega bullnose, like one of my favorite watches that, again, I hemmed and hawed when they were 3G. Then like at a Sotheby's auction, one sold for 12 grand, and then now everyone reset the market to that.
That?
Nah, not that one.
That's cool.
It's an Omega checker. Maybe I have the word checker. So anyway, I know a guy who sent one in for service, and it came back, and they had replaced the crystal, the dial, the hands. They ruined the value on it. No,
that's
it's around that time. But anyway, I avoid that. There's the reissue of it, the ugly blue and white one. It was of that series originally, but then they did that for the Rio Olympics.
Bullhead Rio.
But it's nowhere near as cool as the original.
The original is always
So anyway, that happened. And then like Laffaire is a great no-name brand of high quality. Here's a couple.
I liked that. I pulled that one out as well. That Laffaire was very cool looking. All of these have this similar aesthetic, right?
I like that one with the muted kind of browns and orange.
And again, at this price point, often the bands are going to suck. So plan on probably buying bands from, that's a show in itself. I know. There's so many cool niche band makers out
I'll
there.
plug my turkey guy. I have a guy. Check this out.
Do you make your own bands or do you buy them?
We buy them.
But they're made in the States.
They're made in the States by a guy who's got a pretty small operation. It's not like a big, massive
operation.
That's
how you keep the quality. Your bands are lovely.
Yeah. They are very nice. Yeah. This is, I don't know why our internet just got so slow.
Also, the Kevlar, what are you using? Is it a Kevlar, your weave? The weave band you do that's like in the olive?
The Cordura canvas?
Is that just Cordura?
Yeah, Cordura, and then we line it with Lorica.
Oh, so that's what gives it the puff and the strength.
Yeah.
That looks great.
Is that the...
That's the back side of it.
Oh, yeah.
The back side of it, and then the internal.
Oh, I got to go visit this dude.
This is my guy in Turkey. He may. Oh, look, I have one in studio.
Is he in Istanbul?
Yes, he's in Istanbul. And
I'm there yearly.
At Bosporus Leather. It takes forever for him to make this shit, but I had to wait like 6 weeks for it. But I just bought this case, this 10 watch case. It's badass. It's a heavy duty case.
Beautiful hand finish.
Yeah, really made to order, and it took like 6 weeks to get it. But then here, my IWC here is on.
Do you know that's killer? That works perfect for that watch.
Yeah, it really. Yeah. It makes it.
Do you
works
know
well
Band Bands? I think it's called. Guys in Austria. I've worked with him. I think BANDR Bands. So like, he'll find cool leftover ex-military.
Here's Bander bands.
Like whatever, like artillery bags or different vintage leathers, like police jackets and stuff, and he'll tear them down and redo them and do short runs.
You just cost me so much money. Classic.
And I've sent him cool leather, like like a Rolls Royce we did for a client, the leftover leather.
Oh,
I
nice.
sent him a piece of it before I started making my bands, and he made it for me.
Oh, this is great. This is good. What, $60? All right. Now I just
His custom stuff's a bit more than that, but it's nice quality.
Oh, you just cost me a lot of money. Thanks, John.
That's what I'm here to do. Man. I got to spread perversions around.
What else do we have on the table here?
Another fun way I find to search is pick a particular value movement or an ETA or something you know and trust.
Oh, that's a good way to do it.
And search by movement and description.
Oh, is that possible?
That's how I found this one. And again, there's something about globe graphics.
You are into these globes.
Yeah, I was such a travel whore.
They don't really do globes anymore, right? It's such like a
really
70s
don't.
thing.
Very few brands are doing that anymore. But like super funky case. They didn't even bother putting a band on the dial. But that's one of my favorite watches. How cool is that thing?
It's really
and
neat.
it was all of these are under $1,000.
And that's got $100 or something like this.
I think 7. I think, and that's a 70. What's the famous 7725 Valjoux 7765?
This is a manual one, right?
Yeah. Again, I suck at numbers,
Cameron's
but whatever. It's like
winding and
it's a movement you would have seen in
The Valjoux 72, maybe?
maybe I don't know 70
Yeah.
something. That's about as good
Yeah.
as my brain got on it.
So, John, when you buy when you buy these watches, like, do you ever expect? Are you buying them as investments? Do you expect to get money back out of them ever, really? Or
I would say watches at this price point, it's pretty hard to lose money on them unless you end up with a catastrophic service issue, right? But if you stick to at least related to current trends in the last decade, 37 millimeter or larger under $1,000 Swiss made classic watch, it's going to be really, really hard to get screwed.
Wait, how do we?
Some of these, like that Helvetia, is realistically probably worth $2,000, and I paid $300 or $400 for it. But for me, it's just exercises in design and style and patina and finish that will draw me to them.
So wait, if we go to watches
At that price point, I'm not as concerned.
I want to do it
So, okay,
before we talk about
just
your.
click 40 mm up in the primary search field.
Where are we at? 40 mm. Before we go, I want to talk about the Duesey. But we're gonna just do a search on eBay. 40 millimeter. What else should we filter
on the
by?
left, show more.
Show more.
Boom. Keep going. Oh wait, no, that's categories. So go down. And
Case material, gender, band, movement. Here we go. Movement.
right. So then you can start searching by movement class, or you scroll down.
Mechanical, hand winding.
Boom, and then go to year manufacturer on the left.
Year manufacturer.
And then you say, okay, I only want to look at 40 through 69 or whatever. You pick your classes. Then you can go to case size if you really want to geek out.
Oh, man.
Although I usually don't. I do in description.
Here, let's just go. Let's just see what this brings up.
A lot of people don't put it. They don't bother
Oh,
it.
dude, look at this. And let's go to, best match. Okay, so you got $1,200, $1,000.
And this is just 40 mil of the eras you selected
check
in
this
title.
out. Here we go. Optima Swiss, buy it now, $190. That's a cool watch for $190.
Yeah, except you've got to be careful including this one. I bet you this bugger is counting 40 millimeter, including the lugs.
Oh, maybe.
Tricky bitch. Check in his description. We gotta watch.
Okay, well,
get tricky.
All right, so that's a piece of advice.
But and then search and description always when you're searching by dimension.
$350. That's a really cool
Invictas
dial.
are killer deals for vintage.
That's
look how
very
unique
cool.
that bezel.
And look at the month complication in the. You think that's just on the bezel?
Looks like it.
Man, there's
It's a set your own month.
Oh, I'm so unhappy you just showed me how to do these searches because this is gonna be a real...
That guy right there, Relogico Cronografico Flora Militar.
Right here.
He's had that thing listed forever.
That's a very cool watch.
It's super cool, isn't it?
Looks like a ship's like
poor man's UG
dial from back in the day.
Yep.
So this is a great way to filter by vintage and price and size, and this is a great way to find watches on eBay.
And I actually bitched at Crown and Caliber because it used to be such a huge pain in the ass to search by year of manufacture, and they updated that in their search. It's so much better now.
Here's a vintage Omega for you.
Same with Chrono 24.
Vintage
now
Omega.
You can search by decade instead of having to click every damn year.
$800.
That's a Red Star too.
For vintage Omega, yeah. So this is a
there's tons
there's stuff
of cool
out
stuff
there.
out there.
There's stuff out there. That's really cool. All right. enough of this.
Let's talk about me.
The Duesey.
All right. So
Look at
those
this.
of you that don't know,
You made a watch.
I finally had enough and said, that's it. I got to just do this. So I
Should we
designed
we'll do
my
the
own
unboxing
watch.
over here?
Yeah, and as Maddie knows, like I kept stalling coming to do this show. I'm like, no, dude, my box is so cool. We gotta wait till I have the first box. I gotta come with a box. So
Well,
So there's
should we
the box.
shall we unbox?
let's do it.
Okay. Dun. So the rectangular box, almost like a box of baseball cards, with a polished wood box with your gecko. Is it a gecko? It's a gecko, right?
Blue
Iguana?
belly lizard. Whatever.
Lizard? So here, wait. Let's show the camera. It's really nice polished wood. And we open. Oh, what's happening in here?
And then that would have been the watch.
Oh, and then
ta-da! But I was wearing it.
And here's the watch that he's wearing.
Now here's the thing that kills me though.
The box is pretty, but what's
like,
happening down
like
here?
I said, check this out. So, where's
Your
the
box.
tray? Oh, I didn't bring the tray. I'm such a goober.
Oh, so the watch would sit
So
in a
yeah,
tray.
the watch sits on a dedicated tray at the top.
okay.
But like all the luxury watches, like I have big moving boxes full of watch boxes that are useless.
Right.
So I don't know why watchmakers seem to think like you're only going to have one watch and these gorgeous presentation boxes. They suck. So you take my top tray out, and then it's a 5 pillow box on the inside.
So check this out. So underneath the regular tray, look, I have to turn it down so the light gets in there. Look, you can see the pillows. It actually, the box is a storage case for
yes,
your
you can
other
actually
watches.
use it. And then all
Beautiful
Italian
box.
leather. And then I geeked out on my warranty card. These will all be hand numbered and signed, but that's the first article.
But it's made of metal.
proper metal.
Proper
That's the thing.
aluminium.
When I was doing my research on watch warranty cards, which personally I think are just useless. Do you still do them? It's like everyone does them.
We do a certificate of authenticity, but it's more of like a born-on kind of card. Like when we finish a watch,
Right.
I'll
Oh,
sign
cool.
it
So like it's
if
actually
I was
like
the one
a
finishing it,
passport
which is like,
or whatever. So I started looking through all those watch boxes that I have no use for, studying all the different designs of the warranty cards, and like serious watches, and they're so cheesy. Like
I hate the fact that most companies don't even fill them out when they sell the watch.
right,
yeah.
That it
kind of
bothers me.
negates the
It-
whole point.
Yeah, it says this product is not special enough. We made this stupid thing that
Yeah.
we don't even care about filling it out.
I will credit two people where it is due. Both my Grand Seiko and the Omega I bought. They sat there and filled it out
At the
there.
boutique,
At the
right?
boutique.
Yeah.
While giving me champagne or Japanese whiskey, depending on
Now, are you a vintage Seiko guy? Do you know your stuff there?
a little bit. I have a Pogue, one of those yellow dial Pogues.
So I don't know anything about
That's
them.
the first automatic chronograph.
Yeah.
Right?
Automatic chronograph.
Yeah, first
I
automatic
just
chronograph.
bought through a neighbor a collection of watches. It's 20 watches, some Mito and Omega, some cool stuff in there, and most of them are super small, so I'm like, bummer. But there's one Seiko in there that on the clasp, it has a steel band. It has like a date and a ship reference, and I think it's Vietnam era.
Really cool.
Doesn't work, but it's an automatic with date.
Wow.
Like, Thursday,
yeah.
like full date.
Is there a date in?
I'll text you a
Send me
picture,
a picture
of it.
that. I'm not
curious
an
about
expert,
it.
but I know people who are.
Sweet.
Yeah, I can send you the right place. Vintage Seiko is hot. So anyway, your watch, John.
So, yeah.
We talked about it a little bit on the
loved-
Smoking Tire podcast. The Duesey.
Yep.
So what's the inspiration? Why did you decide to make a watch, and why does it look like it looks, and why does it do what it do?
Well, because when I first started sketching and playing with designs when I was a kid, and I wasn't in an environment where industrial designer was like a viable thing to do, the two things I found myself kind of doodling out were watches and cars. Watches ended up being where I went, and then here we are years later. This design, when back in the 90s, when I saw my up and close and personal, got to spend some time with one of the earliest Duesenbergs. I fell in love with the gauges, the Speedo and Tack, and they were called the drum style. And apparently they suck. And a lot of people, when Duesenberg abandoned it because of reliability, a lot of people went and upgraded their car and got rid of them. But as a car and watch geek, from the time that, see the gauge on the left-hand side, the Tack, that's the
go.
one.
So
when I
right here.
first saw that, I was like, oh man, that would make such a cool jump hour. So I want to do that. I started studying in a new CAD platform with a tutor from Autodesk called Fusion 360. And instead of doing an automotive project, because I have two engineers who are way better than me, so it's like a total waste of time, I said, okay, let's do a watch because of the detail and the precision. Like, it was a really good, somewhat complicated, but not too complicated for me to school on. So as I got more and more hours into that and focused on the Duesey right away because of my long love of that design and love affair with jump hours, I got to the point that I started lobbying my wife and partner and said, hey, well, you know, the design's pretty much done. Can I please, can we do it? And then I started what seemed like would be a simple task and turned to be a multiple year task to figure out the right way to go and the right partnership and what to do. And I mean, Cam was involved very early on. I reached out to Cam to see if we could make it in the States, and the timing just wasn't right yet because I was hell bent on jump hour wondering minutes. And Cam, in my opinion, was really the only viable up and coming, skilled, passionate, quality American watchmaker. But at that point, and probably still today, he's so busy with his core stuff that if I take his focus off to develop that complication, A, I can't afford it. B, he can't afford it. So I crawled back to Switzerland. Then that was like just the beginning of the battles. It's like trying to find a company who'd work with little old me. And I'm only doing 50 units, but I wanted like tier 1 quality.
And that's not enough for them to give a shit?
Hell no.
So what do you have to do to make them give a shit?
Box maker either bend over and pay too much for everything, or with the watch manufacturer partnership, just luck. My second trip to Switzerland, second sit down meeting with them, and they were just saying, you know, I was trying to lobby it down, and basically any SKU, any quantity under 250 units, they don't even want to talk to you. 500 is where they'd like to be in a minimum order.
Really?
And I'm like, well, that's just, I don't think the model is there right now. And that's not what I want to do. I want to enter this slowly. I don't have investors. I don't want them. I want to do it organically. So I said, I'm out of here. And then I got super lucky because the owner, the CEO of the company came walking through and glad handed. And we swapped cards. He left the room, turned around and came back in and goes, Icon, what are you doing here? And I explained, heard of the trucks? Yeah, he goes, my best friend has one in Moscow. He loves his Bronco. So the guy was schooled on the brand. He goes, no, I totally get it. I respect your brand. I believe in what you're doing. I think this can grow. So we'll just charge you too much money and do 50 units.
All right.
But then, like the Onyx dial, I want to use Onyx. No one uses Onyx anymore. So that was a shit show.
You told me in the other show you wanted to use Vanta Black.
Yeah, it was another that battle I lost, but I won the Onyx dial.
Somebody is using a Vanta Black.
MHT is, but it's outside of this Watch Federation.
So,
so they were able to.
What was it about? So Vanta Black is
Swiss government,
none more black. Right? It's the blackest
super
substance
sexy. Known to man.
Known to man.
Basically like a nanoparticle forest of blackness. But since it is considered a nanoparticle, the Swiss government, therefore the Swiss Watch Federation, considers it a carcinogen.
Right. So is this it? This is it, right? How do I open it?
But what's stupid to me is their watch is so complex that you don't get the depth and dimensional value that it would add. And they did a standard AR crystal. So again, you lose the depth. For all these shots, they took the crystal off, cheaters.
Oh, they took the crystal off?
Yeah.
What about this one?
That's crystal on. You can see the glare. But again, you're losing that depth because of the way it's applied. Yeah. It's not on the minute wheel. It's just in those four
it's only
corners.
It's only in the corners, right? And it looks like, there's black hole in the corner in the corners,
but for my idea, man,
you wanted to do the whole dial in the black,
so hot.
Right?
Yeah,
because then it would have just been like the numbers are floating, right?
I had to get approval from the British military and government. I had to get approval from the U.S. government. So I had to get approvals in non-military space to export it out of England and then to import it into the U.S. and then Switzerland cock-blocked me. So that was fun. But yeah, it was an incredibly complicated. And then I wanted my own typeface on everything. I wanted it. You'll see it on my movement. I wanted my own rotor design. I designed my own crown, my own case. I wanted to use T5 titanium, not just T2. and on and on and on. And
So the case is
it was
titanium.
a struggle. Yeah, T2 and T5.
And
So is the crown. Gold lizard. I don't know. Can you zoom and see the detail
Yes.
on that lizard?
well, I can try.
I went completely nuts.
That's a zoom. That's as close as I can get. And
All
it's pretty good. You can see
But
the detail
his
on his
body's
back.
fully
Yeah.
dimensioned.
Oh wait, hang on. And let me see how let me see how that rotor winds as well. Let me
It turns.
No, okay. I just wanted to see the rotor winding, man.
And yeah, so it's been a really incredibly educational process, and I'm dumb enough to do it again. That being said, the industry is in sort of an odd place in time, I believe, but early on enough in that situation that they're not adapting and innovating as much as I'd like to see. Again, I think you're seeing those innovations predominantly coming from the independents who are not really in a space to work with me.
Yeah.
Like Vincent Calabrese would have been a perfect partner for the aesthetic of the watch. But then I'm at a 40, 50, 60K price point, which I get enough complaints.
Just drop
about
another
how
name I've never
expensive
heard before. See what
Get out of here.
I'm sorry. I don't know everything, John.
I thought you did, man.
Dude, I've only
Like
been
my
in this
hero.
game like a year. I don't know that much.
So
I'm like a student.
He's
to this
one
shit.
of the leading, and he's famous for his porno watches that get pretty nutty.
Yeah,
But he has wonderful, innovative jump hour designs. And one thing I love, his watch, one of his series, if you're trying to be subtle in a meeting and check the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just push your cuff back. In between the lugs on the side facing you is a sapphire cutout in the case where there's a wheel with the hash marks and the hour indicating the time.
Wow, is that on one of these?
Should be. Try that Ottica.
Ottica? So this is a watch where you can see it from the side?
I hope it's on this one.
An illusion.
It's a
Ottica.
super. I love the design concept that he does.
I like the dial is cool and weird.
Cool guy.
I don't get how it works,
unique
though.
lines, unique collection.
I like this. What is this porno thing?
What do you mean you don't get how it works? Couldn't be any easier.
No.
It's $550.
This is hilarious.
Oh,
The Greek
he
gods.
goes into some very odd cul-de-sacs for which
That's
there are
very
consumers every time.
That's very funny.
But
So
again,
wait,
it's like the independents are really what are shaping the future.
so your watch, right, is
Yep.
a jump hour complication on
Yep.
top of a base automatic movement, roughly, right?
So it's on a base ETA, so parts, service, global, easy. It's the same movement that I love, the Bell and Ross jump hours, super sexy. It's the same exact movement by them and many other top brands. It's just the complication is the Dupli Dupra. I think it's the 14400 is what they call it. So that's the jump hour module. And then the wheels I had made unique to this watch, again, because I'm a font geek and I wanted to have that consistency everywhere. And on and on and on. And the crown, and like you can see from some of my vintage stuff, that's all inspiring for me. Between that and my thousands of catalog photos of vintage car speedometers and gauges and details and my love affair with the original Duesenberg series, the SJs, I literally just said, okay, I want a squashed onion crown. I know I want a squashed onion. Then I went through.
I've never heard that. That's
Yeah.
squashed onion.
Am I correct? That's what I've always referred to them, because you got onions and you got squashed onions.
This would be an
and-
onion, right? It's big.
Yeah.
It's a big onion, like the radio mirror onion as well, right? And that's squashed. That works.
So I just kind of went through them down and started picking which ones I liked the best, and then started realizing what can we do in modern machining that couldn't have been done on them back then. So then modeled the CAD file to match those contemporary capabilities. But again, like everything I do, I kind of wanted to reference the tradition. So it's turn of the century manner of telling time started by the Paul Weber patent. And then the materials are decidedly modern. The contrast of the onyx is retro, but somehow reads modern. And T5 and T2 are oddly usually not combined. Everyone uses T2. It's much, much easier to work with. And then the silica blasted case kind of goes against the traditional aesthetic. And
I like that.
Yeah, it's different.
It's
It's
very.
kinda
It's got like a nice. Will it wear a bit too?
well,
Kinda
any
like a softness
any
almost to it.
blasted case is going to show wear over time, but the T5 titanium is highly durable versus we did the T2 because of the high polish capability that it has.
Now, titanium also is self-healing, which is pretty cool. I think that's
I've
one
always
of the
heard
coolest.
that, and I've never felt that to be the
Meaning
case
what? If
on
you
any of my.
scratch it?
So if you have like with this, not like bead blasted, but the silica blasted titanium, it's such a fine, like dull coat. It almost looks like a coating or something like that.
Yeah, it's almost like
But
a DLC.
Basically, if you scratch it, it's going to be bright, but only for a couple of days.
Oh,
then
so
it's
it'll
gonna
literally because
darken.
it's oxidizing.
Yeah, it'll darken itself, and it'll kind of start to camouflage back into the initial silica blasting. I have an old titanium case that I put a watch together with.
It won't like heal.
It won't
scratches,
completely heal,
right?
but the scratches will fade pretty quickly over time. So it'll still get patina and wear and scratches and things like that, but they're not going to be like if you have a satin Rolex and you scratch it, you're going to have a bright scratch on it.
Huh.
And if you have a polished Rolex, you're going to get a scratch and you're going to have all these satin marks on it. Whereas a titanium case, it blends back together to what it was before.
How interesting.
The premium for titanium right now, I was surprised how crazy it was.
Really?
Yeah. Again, in the low volume space and the cost difference and how it gobbles up tools.
I mean, was it worth doing titanium? I think about like, the Alpha 8C, right? Beautiful car. And it was $275,000 because it was carbon fiber and no one gave a shit. And it would have been $95,000 if it was aluminum, and they would have sold so many of them.
I'm not smart enough to answer your question other than to say like my automotive brand was a passion project. I got lucky in that there were enough people that appreciated what I was passionate about, what mattered to me, and all the layers of details that excite me.
Yeah.
So with this, and maybe it was just stupidity and arrogance combined, but like I just tried to do as pure a vision of what I saw in my head that I wanted to create. And since I'm only doing 50, I wasn't too worried about buyers. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, I think the cost to manufacture at this volume, I mean, I could have retailed this watch for, it's $11,500 right now. If it was in stainless, it would probably been able to have done it for $75,000.
Oh, wow.
So it's significant.
We've started playing with titanium, and it takes twice as long to cut anything CNC
gobbles the piss
out of
titanium.
your
tools.
Yeah, twice as long.
Yeah.
I mean, look.
And are you playing with
I'm not
T2
one to judge, but
what grade are you playing with?
T5.
T5.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. Like, it is cool, and the finish is awesome. Man, I'm not sure if is in hindsight, do you find the cost was worth it?
Again, for 50 units, yes. Yeah. Having said that, the next design that I'm working on and hope to do, I think I'll go with stainless. I mean,
there's some really expensive watches out there that are stainless steel.
Well, and the other thing that I'm getting all horny about is all these high-tech DLC coatings that people are doing now. I mean,
such as the Bamford stuff? Or something else?
Yeah, but more like what Hans Wettstein did with Ventura watch brand years ago with DLC titanium coating. Unbelievable. I've had some of his watches for 15 years. I mean, one in particular I beat the shit out of at work, welding and grinding and just hammer on.
So what is
just to Ventura watch HANNES.
So hey, could I run this through the jump cycle?
Sure.
Just to show people who have never seen a jump.
Yeah, we'll do that real quick. What am I looking at here real quick?
So go to the right second row, down one. There.
This?
So that's the finish I'm talking about on his execution.
Okay.
And then
it's
the bronzes, the brasses, the different grades and different tones of golds, and you basically can get into non-organic feasible finishes that are incredibly durable nano coatings on stainless.
Interesting. Huh. I like that. That's pretty cool.
So right now the trend,
are they doing this with cars as well?
Bronze, too large to fit in the chamber.
Oh.
But these bronze Tudors and everything that everyone was such the raise.
Yeah.
Craze. I'm saying but no, coat the stainless in a specific blend of metals so you can control and mandate the tone and rate of the patina.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Freeze it.
I'm about this bronze shit that's happening right now.
Yeah, me too. I like it.
I saw someone with a bronze Tudor, and it was pretty dope. And someone I know gets these Seikos taken apart and rebuilt in bronze cases, bronze Seiko turtles, and they are badass. So
Yeah,
that's a good way to burn an extra 1,000 on top of a turtle. It's doubles the price of a turtle.
So I don't know. I just think that'll be fun, and it'll allow me to have a series of which I'll do more quantity. Thereby, I can bring my price point down considerably and amortize tooling over a series. And the design I'm focused on doing between the DLC coating concepts for the case and the design of the dial immediately lends itself to umpteen different variations of applied or painted or color maps and stuff that I'll have a hard time justifying the titanium.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, the coatings sound like a good idea, though, to be able to build out a line for not much.
You haven't done any coatings or anything, right? You're staying pretty retro still, right?
We haven't released anything with a coating on the case.
Oh,
we haven't
they
released
just gave me a look that tells
haven't
me
released
yes.
anything. I saw he at the open house, actually, he had, it looked like it was 3D printed or something. It looked like a white plastic prototype for a case.
Yeah, that was our first prototype for the fit of the case.
Dude, it was fucking cool. It was a white plastic case with a black dial, and I was like, ooh, if you did like a white ceramic case with a black dial, it would look boss.
The one I'm not getting, I'm
really
curious
cool.
your opinion, like you're seeing a lot of these Uber brands now doing the sapphire crystal cases.
Oh, yeah.
So do you chub up on that? Because I just they look like a cheap fucking watch to me. Like,
well,
I don't get
they
it.
do until they don't.
Yeah.
So like some of these, like here's Grable Forsey. I just pulled up a random image.
His finishing on his movements, I just love their finishing.
That's pretty cool. Here's a full sapphire case.
See, that looks like
those jelly
shit.
sandals.
This
that
totally
reminds me
dude,
of.
but see this shit,
Jacob.
Look, I'm not gonna wear that, but when you have like a fish tank,
I've seen that in person, and like again, like if money didn't matter, I still wouldn't buy them because it's just not my thing. But holy shit, the craftsmanship,
fish tank on your wrist.
Amazing.
What? Let me ask you a question. When you saw that in person, was it being worn in public? Or you saw it like in a case?
No, at a show.
All right, because I'm just trying to picture someone who's wearing that. What do the rest of their clothes look like? You know what I mean? Like
G-string.
What does the rest of the outfit
Tutu.
look like if you've got on
Sapphire blue tutu?
You got if you're for the audio people, we're talking about the Jacob Astronomia tourbillon, which is like a solar system that floats in a sapphire case. It looks like a fish bowl with an ecosystem in there, and it's $1 million. And then here's the Richard Millet in the sapphire case.
I don't know. I mean, like,
dude, look at the guy's arm hairs through the movement.
I don't want to see my. I don't want to see my crushed,
the
ugly
MB&F
Irish
up here,
arm.
though?
Here's the MB&F,
like where you can see
That's
the
like a
blue
cassette.
gasket. You can see the blue gasket behind, and it's like, all these bolts are essentially bringing the glass down onto it. It's pretty cool.
Like? This looks like the ceiling of a creative workspace. Where you can see the ductwork.
Technically, it's fascinating, and I remember I think it was Cartier was the first that I've seen in recent times as getting into the clear cases, but theirs was micro compressed aluminum, where they put so much force into I'm pretty sure it was aluminum
that it turns
clear. It turns fucking clear. There's so much pressure on the particles.
Well,
that was nifty. I was like, all right.
What if someone does like they can make the fake diamonds now? What if you made a case that was fake diamonds?
Like grow a case?
Well, no, they make the fake diamonds by compressing carbon into diamonds.
Right.
They can do that. But if you compressed it in the shape of a watch case,
and some of those sintered carbon cases, I think that's kind of nifty.
Is that's like what Lamborghini's doing?
Yeah.
It's the carbon fiber that looks like Liberace's bathroom.
Yeah.
It's I understand how
in
functional
the right
it is.
funky watch case, it can if it's done right, they're pretty nifty.
AP does it. They have that Royal Oak that's the carbon case, right?
Yeah.
the forged carbon?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't do forged carbon anymore.
Oh, they don't?
I heard when there like QC disasters with it.
Because it would crack?
It doesn't wear really great for the long term. It's not a great material.
It's not that stable because the fibers aren't directionally uniform.
Where was that?
It's not to say it won't last long enough, but they've moved away from it and they've gone to full ceramic.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. It looks better here than it looks on the dashboard of an Aston Martin. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's the card.
But it will
Totally
make those
agree.
watches rare.
so
Did
you're
you cycle the
Oh
jump?
yeah, wait, hang
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Cameron wants to show off how a jump hour. I can't believe we got this far without demoing
Right?
how the jump hour
Let's
works.
see.
So the minutes move smoothly,
Other way. Yeah.
and then as you approach the 60-minute, the
Cha-boing.
hour jumps
Just instant.
quickly as opposed to over time.
And like it'll never cease that if I happen to look at my watch and it's like 4:52, I will for 8 fucking minutes,
Right?
sit
Yeah.
and go back
Yeah.
and make sure. Okay, and watch the jump. It's
Yeah.
like goober.
I can't wait. I'm waiting for New Year's on the perpetual. I'm really
See,
waiting.
perpetuals are too much of a responsibility. I don't have any.
I know you
just got
become
to
the
have the
keeper.
right winder, or you're in hell.
Yeah, I got a Wolf watch winder sponsored from Wolf. It's very nice.
Yeah, but you go out of town, you have a
Multiple
power outage, then you got to come back and spend 3
Battery
days
backup,
resetting
son.
your watch.
Battery
Oh,
backup, son.
play
This
up.
Wolf watch winder got a battery backup. We're golden. If
I
I'm
haven't
not
had
wearing
any
it.
proper winders, so I ditched the ones I had.
I never used the winder, but now that I have to keep
Right,
this
now that
going,
totally
I have no
makes
choice.
sense.
But I love this watch, so I've been wearing this every day.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
This
I
shit
get
is
it.
so cool, John. I'm so glad that I'm in a room with 2 people who have made watches. This is brilliant.
Well,
I'm excited for your
let's
next one.
back up for a second. I'm just an idiot with a bunch of sketches and CAD files with a creative idea and a small pile of money.
Listen, sketches,
Cam is making
sketches, CAD
watches.
files, idea, and money. Those are a lot of the things you need. I mean,
No, certainly, but
Cameron,
I just want to
respect to where it's due.
I want to
but
exactly make sure the respect to a true watchmaker and make sure. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. but
Cameron,
it's
what
so
is your
maverick
opinion of
and-
this
and
watch?
so worthy
You
of
can be honest.
celebration.
John won't beat the shit out of you. What do you think about this watch? As someone who is not a watchmaker, but who has created a watch.
I think that there is a lot that goes into making a watch that most people have no idea about. Just a little frame, the little frame around
Oh
the
God!
number here to have a unique one, right?
It's like building a
I'm
house,
sure-
right? You don't think about the
Yeah.
1,000 different faucets you got to choose from, you know?
Yeah,
Whatever.
all those little things to have it so that it's not what's been done before and it's something new and unique. That adds a lot of extra work and a lot of extra money. So anything like this where you have so many new unique things to a jump hour like this, there's a lot that went into it. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So to see that actually in a working watch at this point is pretty cool.
That you can buy
Yeah.
at iconwatch.com. Where do you buy it?
Just on my main Icon 4X4, you can just go straight to iconwatchcompany.com. 2 other little geek things. I designed the clasp too, which the first idea totally failed. So this is
What happens when a clasp totally fails? It just didn't look right?
No,
or-
the functionality with the croc band didn't work because of the tiles on the croc. But like Omega, I always loved, they had like a bridge style clasp in the 40s where the tail of the band would tuck back under.
Under the clasp without any loops on the
with
strap.
no loops. And I loved it. But it didn't work for shit, so I had to throw away that tooling. And start over again. And then the way it's branded on the face is super, super subtle because it's laser sintered
glass.
into the glass. And then the
you
crystal.
turn
Yeah.
it a little-
The crystal has a curve to the edge
And I've-
instead of a chamfer.
Exactly. And then I have 2 different curves, top and bottom surface.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it,
And then it's
but
double
kinda
AR
can.
coated.
the edge of the crystal is actually rounded.
Icon, if you look at it here, it'll pop up again in the radius that's on the edge of the crystal. I'm not sure if it'll.
You see if I can try to zoom in there. Yeah, you can sort of see it. It's
Sort of
it's
see
tough
it
to
pop
see.
up?
Yeah,
So you can see it
there
in person.
there it was.
you
Yeah,
know?
it doubles it up.
Yeah.
there it is. Boom.
Because
Sexy.
the simplicity of it, there's just no way in hell I could just put something on the base. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot went into a suspiciously simple looking watch. And
There was a couple commenters in the other show. I'll give you the negative. Here's the fair and balanced, and it's 2 words that once you hear you can't unhear.
okay, can I guess what they are? Because
Yeah.
I heard them on Instagram and I
Yeah.
laughed my ass off. Bathroom scale.
Yeah. Once you hear bathroom
I
scale,
couldn't unsee it. I was like, well, he does have a point. You know?
I know you want to get mad, but you're like, oh, I can't.
I never thought of that. Shit.
Yeah, how many years into the project? And
Right.
then,
Oh man, it's funny.
It was.
It is. I love the watch. I wore it briefly when you were here last time. It sat on my wrist really good.
And
know
you
what I
had the
would
shitty
want?
prototype.
Yeah,
which
try
was
this one on now.
well, it'll feel the same.
It'll
but
feel the same. But what I want is one with a strap that you made. I know this guy.
So you want a shittier strap?
Yes.
Okay,
A
I can do
shittier
that.
strap made by the hand of John Ward.
So I made the first prototype strap because I was having trouble communicating with them
looks
exactly
good.
what I wanted. Oh, and here's another fun story from the annals of low-volume novice virginal watchmaker. Customs.
yeah.
So
Sorry?
I had
Oh,
permits.
customs.
Oh yeah, they
'Cause
came in
this
as
is-
complete watches, correct?
U.S. Customs.
This is
Oh, boy.
This is a well, no, the tariff though was cheaper if they came in as complete watches. However,
Straps, right?
the strap they dicked me around. The first round, the prototypes got held up in customs via FedEx for 6 weeks.
Whoa.
Which screwed my
Why?
schedule down.
Oh wait. Why was that?
Okay, because when I brought it in, not only did I include all the proper paperwork, a fish and game permit they made me get, like I'm hunting the fucking crocodile.
Because of the leather.
The certificate of origin for every single document.
That's right, because this is really an alligator strap.
Alligatorus
Yeah.
Mississippius or whatever the
Yeah.
hell the Latin is. But they
That's important.
they
Yes.
they
It's
the diligence and the
endangered
inspection
species.
was unfucking believable. It was killing me.
Wait a second. Alligators are endangered, and you can put
Protected.
them on straps.
not
Protect.
endangered but protected. So if you have a leather strap that is embossed with the alligator print, so it looks alligator, but it's not legitimately off of an alligator, it can go across the border without any
problem.
Yeah, no problem.
But if it's
if
actually
it's
alligator,
actually alligator, it needs the fishing game.
Inspection
Yeah.
every single time, no matter what paperwork
listen.
and diligence.
Yeah,
Listen,
even when you send it
isn't-
to someone overseas who bought it, you're going to need that
Same
again
shit.
for the customer.
I feel your pain, but isn't that for the best? Don't we want that to
No.
have to pass a QC?
Yes, but
I mean,
it
really,
should come
for
with
the world.
Here's the thing: they established a toe tag, basically, program that's on the tip of the hide when you purchase the hide. If that tag is documented through the reimport, first of all, it's from America. It was hunted in America. It was sent to Italy, then to Switzerland, and then back into America with the tail tag, all the documents. Come on. If it's got the tail tag, the permit, and the documents, click the box. Give me my watch.
Okay, that makes sense. No, the holding up of the process, I understand the frustration. I'm with you,
But a lot
I
of
think
people-
I don't think they should deregulate this.
No.
process.
I totally
Let's
agree.
keep the endangered animals, going upwards. I was just
Yeah.
in the Galapagos. I feel you. I feel this issue right now.
But yeah, part of the fun. And then the way I wanted the burnt and wrapped edges, I didn't want a stitch body. I wanted it skived to a very specific dim. Like finally I was like, you know what? I'll just make one and send it to you. And they were like, what? Same with the watch, the manufacturing partner. They're like, okay, well, the design phases. I'm like, no. Like, I got the design. Here it is. Okay, well, the engineering and modeling. I'm like, no. Here are the CAD files. Like, so
Has anyone
I'm
ever
a
sent
weirdo.
them CAD files?
Never.
Like that?
They said never.
Never.
In 69 years of business, never have they received like done package.
Yeah, like how
everything.
close were your CAD files to like ready to make watch? Like, did they need some
Ready
adjusting?
except for anchoring of movement. I knew well enough to stay out of that, so I just gave it. I got the clearances max OD for the movement, spec to that, and I stepped out of that. So they did those last revisions, but they've got placeholder CAD for that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
10 minutes, they drop it into the file.
That's so gangster.
They thought I was a complete lunatic from start to finish.
and all that, and they still overcharge you. That's bullshit.
But you know what? In all that, I would be surprised if I don't work with them again on the next watch.
There's a lot that goes into it. Even if you have the files for the whole exterior and exactly how you want it to look,
Then the
And
CAD
even all the tolerance
files
for
and
that
on
kind
and
of
on
thing.
and on. Yeah.
but then think about what's your hole, the through hole for the
Yeah.
crown tube, going to be? You don't know what size the diameter of the stem is that has to fit through that hole.
Or the
to
seal,
load
or the
yeah,
this,
exactly,
or
or
the
what
that,
size
so.
O-ring.
Yeah.
So all of that is additional work that has to be done with whoever's selecting those parts and creating.
But
those
you did
parts.
those. You did all that, or you
I
just
had
sent them the exterior.
I had the base crown cavity defined
okay.
for the stem, or not crown cavity, but the stem cavity. I had the max OD for the movement, and I didn't get any nuttier than that. But like the radii for the crystal and the actual crown itself, and my lug shape and my case shape and the clasp and the all of that was anally like done and handed.
Teach yourself
to them
CAD.
exactly
You
how I
can
want.
And
like
then
make
and then they
things.
probably come back and they go, well, but we don't have the tool for this radius on the crystal, so you'll
Yep,
have to make
you're-
that. We'll have
you're
to
right.
charge you to make that tool.
Again and again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is true.
How tough was it to teach yourself CAD?
Well, I already knew AutoCAD from schooling at like night school 15 years ago, but then 20 years ago. But that shit's so outdated, no one's using it anymore. And the company's evolved, so I've hired people smarter than me nowadays to execute my stupid ideas when it comes to the engineering stuff. But it wasn't that hard. But to be honest, I cheated because my 15-year-old wants to be a mechanical engineer. And I think we've had this discussion, but one day he said to me, what do? I don't want to be stuck in a cubicle somewhere, and I want to be involved through prototyping and testing and machining. What should I be into, Dad? I know how to answer it. So I put the question on Instagram.
Has it not occurred to you to hire him?
Oh, he's going to fire me. I won't be hiring him. He'll be kicking my ass out.
Are you talking about getting other jobs before he comes and doing the coolest job with
yeah,
CAD?
and get all his proper training. But from that single post on Instagram, we got invited to SpaceX and Google X and Tesla's rocket program and Texas A&M and National Robotics Lab and blah, blah, blah.
Awesome.
And we were up at Google X, and the CMO at Autodesk saw we were there, and he's like, hey, if you guys have time, you should come by. So we went by, and then that turned into a friendship, which turned into them sending me a free tutor for a year once a week.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's why I was doing all this with the tutor.
God, life
So
is
I cheated.
good. Life
But you
is
know
good
what?
for
the,
you.
The University of YouTube, baby. There's no reason
heard that.
stopping
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
Even SketchUp, which is a free situation now for CAD right now for young people and students. Incredibly intrinsic and understandable about how to do it. Basically, any youngins out there playing in Minecraft, boom, transition into 3D design is cakewalk for them.
Yeah.
And
Us old farts is probably a little bit harder.
And you can't get too caught up on having absolutely perfect files because whoever you send them to is going to need to rework them some amount.
Something I have to do. Something.
So whatever you can't do, there's going to be help.
It just
at some
eliminates
point.
the back and forth of having to describe something to somebody.
Well,
Yeah.
also plugins of different software interpreting others for different machines can be downright scary. I've had that problem. But one of the reasons I loved the Fusion 360 was straight to cam control. Like I didn't even need Mastercam plugin to cut my path for our Haas. Like it automatically for 3D printing, boom, got it. For full surfacing, high quality HD rendering, it's all in that one program. So it makes a huge difference.
I wanted to wait. I just blanked. I was gonna go to a couple Facebook questions, and then what did I do? Close the window.
Sweet.
I actually started using Fusion 360 a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's in the
same
last
thing.
2 years. It's evolved immensely.
Well, it's like $300 for an annual license,
right versus CATIA
versus
$40K.
$6,000. You know, for like a
for
SolidWorks
solid.
seat.
Yep.
So
Hard to beat.
yeah,
Well, okay.
Do you still hate PayPal with a passion due to them?
God damn it. Yeah, I do. Those pricks, they screwed me hard. And I got really lucky. A dear friend of mine's dad is a really mean lawyer. And we finally got PayPal to release all funds. But it took an immense amount of work and energy. And it was wholly inappropriate and against the interests of small business, to put it mildly.
I'm glad it's been sorted. Do you want to get into designing gauges for your vehicles?
You know, Kevin, someone asked me about that the other day. And what's interesting to me is while that opportunity topically is enticing, the reality is the design language of the derelicts and the reformers are so hyper unique to each and every vehicle that I think there wouldn't be a way to create one design that would have the language. I'll turn your question.
But you could do gauge sets for the FJs and the Broncos.
Well, I do a dash clock already for the FJ. And for the Bronco, I've designed it, but there's really not enough topography to place it on the dash properly. But also keep in mind that a lot of times, Kevin, the original 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s cars already have dash clocks, so we certainly go through those and honor them and keep them. Now, what I'd like to do, turning that question around, is I'm dying to do derelict versions of all of my watches.
Oh.
So you think I had a hard time getting Swiss partners to work with my ass in low volume? Now, and I've had these discussions with a couple of the top dial makers, like, yeah, that's perfect. I know you spent like 250 years making shit perfect, but what if we just like toss a little carbon on the enamel before you fire that bitch so it cracks and splinters? And they cannot get their head around it.
That's not going to work.
There's literally a guy I know in LA who's an amazing tile maker, and he's all about the funk and impermanence of it. And I've been talking to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, when you're ready, like send me a couple blanks and let's play with it." So I think I'd literally have to go outside of the watch industry.
The Swiss would lose their minds.
No, they'd hunt me and kill me.
They'd lose their minds. Well, dude, that was an awesome show. Thank you for coming down.
I'm
so excited about your watches. Follow John on Instagram, icon4x4 on Instagram, and also icon4x4.com.
Yeah.
Which, can they just order a watch through there?
Yeah. That's the only way I'm selling it. Actually, I'm selling it through there. And also my buddy James Lambden in New York at Analog Shift.
Oh, Analog Shift's got
Analog's going to be stocking them coming up here in a couple weeks.
Awesome. And, of course, if you have a hankering for a truck, let's get a truck. Here's an FJ 45. 44,
baby.
Sorry.
It's all good.
What's the difference between 44 and 45?
45 is a pickup, 44 is 6-passenger, 4-door.
Okay. 44. Excuse me. He builds these, and they're amazing. And you can learn all about them at icon4x4.com. Cameron, what else you got? Other than Instagram.
I don't know. We might have to work out a trade. But I might be able to make your next 50 watches for an FJ45.
I'm telling you, I think there could be a collaboration at some point. An Icon
there certainly
Weiss
should be. I agree.
Collaboration. This is from the Weiss open house the other day. Here's 5 Weisses in a row.
Oh, I hadn't seen the green before.
The green
is
dial,
my favorite.
dark blue dial,
I love that green.
Cream dial, and then my Bugatti dial. Yeah, buddy. That was a great car show. We had a first ever Weiss open house. It was very lovely. 100 people or so. Beeline coffee. Some interesting cars, including this 2-door G-Wagon. And cool watches.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for having me, and listeners, thanks for hanging in there while we geeked out.
Yeah, man. We'll do it again soon. See you guys next week. And thanks for listening to Watch and Listen. Bye.